Oh, we're live. You're upset? Yep. Hello? Independence Local School District Board of Education at special meeting Monday, August 26, 2024. The Independence High School. Sam?
Absolutely. Mr. Bernstein?
Here.
Mrs. Hill? Here. Mrs. Lasky? Here. Mrs. Sears?
Here.
Mr. Avila?
Here. We all rise for the pledge of allegiance. The flag is up to the right. Pledge allegiance to the flag. States of America. And to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, first item up is the preliminary procedure for the approval of the recording of the previous meetings for July 1st, 2024 and July 31st, 2024.
So,
Second. Mrs. Lasky?
yes.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill? Mr. Avila?
Yes. Treasurer finance reports, the financial statements and the investment report for July 2024 and the commercial paper audit compliance requirement.
So the financial report that you guys got, it's the same format we're used to. Just a couple highlights. July is really hard to get any kind of good feedback and indication of where we are financially because we're 1 month into the financial year. So our cash balance this July is the lowest you see in the graph of any July in 5 years. But I'm waiting for August to close because our settlement came in August and our settlement looks to be a little higher. So there could be some timing of tax advances and settlements there, along with a new tip that came on the books for the second half settlement that wasn't there first half. Our purchase services were a little higher than anticipated, so we'll look at that as we go through August to see how that will make the budget look. And then September will be, at the September meeting, I will be asking you to approve permanent appropriations again to adjust for any grant issues, any things we're finding, and as Kelly and I work through, kind of solidifying the budget that her and I are working through. So that would be the financial statements and investment report. Commercial paper audit compliance, this is a requirement by ORC. It's a specific investment that schools and public entities are eligible to invest in. And what they really are short-term notes for corporations to sell to do payroll and inventory and short-term. And so we need to present that to you as a board, and then once that's approved, I can file. Strictly compliant.
Jen, can I ask what that tip is in reference to?
Yeah, it is Woods 5.
That's a property or a commercial?
It's for infrastructure, it's a commercial one, but I don't know much about it yet until I get even more delved into the tips. I do know which one it is, but I don't know much history.
And then along the same lines, I know we're all starting to get our new tax bills personally in the mail. So how do they announce what the percent increase is for revenues to you? Do you go to a seminar? They just send you something in the mail? And
So I met with Mr. Steve, thank you, John, look at the same one, like on me. Mr. Steve on Friday to start learning these and how Cuyahoga County works. And it looks like, I don't know, until late November, what the actual increase in dollar amounts of the district will be. Because you have your informal complaint period for all of August. We're still working in round guesstimates. Anything else about the finance reports? Or treasury reports? That I can answer? Okay. May I have a motion if you're ready?
Ron second.
Okay. Mrs. Hill?
Yeah.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Beal?
Yes. Next is the public participation at board meeting. It's the policy of the Independence Board of Education to hear public comment at board meetings. The public is invited to speak to any of the agenda items and other school topics at this time. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. All right, Ms. Cogan?
Everyone. So you'll notice a little bit of a change in the agenda at this part. It used to say, I think, kind of like maybe board, member meeting boards or committee reports. So what I did was kind of rearrange that a little bit and put a CVCC update, and then I'll provide, Tom will provide an update. The treasurer, if they have anything to add outside of kind of their voting items or their financials, would be in that part, and then I'll obviously give my update. So let's start with the CVCC update. So Linda O'Neill, who unfortunately called me about an hour and a half ago, had an emergency with her sister and brother-in-law, so she is not able to attend tonight's meeting and felt horrible about it. But I told her to focus on her family. So I did want to just kind of share with you guys because Tom and I had an opportunity to meet her, and I'm excited about her potential appointment to the board, which will happen this Thursday. They're having their meeting. So she spent more than 40 years in the Bedford City School District, which was great. And she kind of rose through the ranks there from a classroom teacher, reading specialist, instructional teacher. She did curriculum and instruction and eventually was their assistant superintendent, which is the role she held when she retired. And really in that role of assistant superintendent, and I can speak to that, you not only focus on the curriculum and instruction side of it for your students who attend, but you have a very close relationship with your career tech programs. And so you kind of forge those relationships. So she has a deep passion for career tech, and is excited about having the opportunity to be on that board. After she left Bedford School, she worked for the Summit County ESC, and she was doing a lot with cultural awareness and working with various districts. And she and her husband Mike have lived in Independence for the past 37 years. She has one son who is also a school district administrator, but attended the Independence schools. And so she has, she knew of this, the Cuyahoga Valley Career Center, and is excited to have a seat on their board. So, and so the idea is that her and I had a conversation. So she's going to try to make our board meetings, our monthly board meetings, so that she can provide an update of what occurred at their board meetings and any new information that needs to be shared with our board, which I think is important. It's when 30% of your graduating class has taken courses over at the Career Center, I think it's impressive. And it's obviously something that our students are choosing. And I don't see that those numbers diminishing. If anything, over time, I see those numbers probably increasing. So it'll be great to have her as part of our kind of liaison between the two boards.
She'll really advocate for kids too. And there's, I do think.
I had an opportunity to go with Dave and had a tour of the facility. So that was really, it was neat to go over and see. It's a beautiful building. I was like, wow, we could have a board. It is a really nice. It is a really nice building. I was like, wow, the view.
You don't like your.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's growing to love it. Growing to love it.
I wouldn't blame you.
Ramtech area really about 7 or 8, 9 years ago, I was involved with that. That was a very, very big plus for that school district.
Yeah.
And the community came together as well as the, I would say the corporations in the whole general area. I want to say, I know it sounds crazy, I want to say it's well over 50 communities that we serve, that they serve, and that's because of all the little tiny burbs in these 8 districts.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting to see how far out we reach. Sadly, the kids on Revere, we love having them, but they have a long drive for these kids.
Same thing.
Yeah, it is. It is.
But it was great. So I talked to Dave and I'm gonna try to see if we can get Jen over as well. have a conversation with their treasurer. So it's interesting just kind of hear about their funding and how we get money. It operates different than Polaris Career Center, which is what Homestead Falls was a part of. So it was interesting for me to see a whole other side of how a career tech can operate with their funding and how that works with their partner districts. So any questions about? We'll be voting on her, the resolution to appoint her, or to recommend her. So Tom, you're up.
Okay, so I wanted to kind of a little bit into the weeds in some of this, but solve the format, so I just wanted to fill in all the boxes. Bleacher installation, so you can see they're out there working. Honestly, the project has been like a roller coaster. It's flying at sometimes, and then it's like moving not very fast at other times. As you can see, the press box is installed. Z brackets, I don't know anything about Z brackets, but I do today. Z brackets did not come with the shipment, so they're gonna be on the road tomorrow up here. That's why the platforms aren't finished at the top. They're installing, I assume the railings are gonna be finished tonight, and it's really just a lot of trim work at this point, and there's a ramp that has to be installed up in front. They were expecting to be out tomorrow. I would anticipate to be done by Thursday. We will be ready for the football game. I'm not really worried about that. Electrical is in place. They should be, I'd say tomorrow, Wednesday at the latest, being finished with the electrical and audio. We are revamping some of the wiring that was full. We're encasing it in to make it look a little cleaner. But certainly excited. It's a pretty, like it has a presence, like the whole thing has a presence. The trend there really kind of does the area well. So I'm really excited about that. Wrestling room, interesting thing on the wrestling room. We have light installation. We got dealt a little bit of blow today. It was actually after I picked this up. Lead time on wrestling mats, Coach D'Angelo's has found out is 8 to 10 months. I'm assuming it's because of the specialty nature of what we're printing. He said it'll be fine, because he has mats to put in there. But it's certainly very different than the 8 to 10 week discussion when we initially received the proposal. Yeah. But the room will be ready for them to wrestle in and practice and do all that. It's just going to be developing over time as a good looks, basically. The window project is on here today. Seeking bids, that's on the agenda. That will be the next phase. I'll have more information on that based on the actual project. Security vestibule, I've been talking to you about this for some time. That is going to be appearing on the agenda for next meeting for you guys to vote on to go out for bids. That is in connection with the Bureau of Workmen's Comp grant, safety grant. They'll provide up to $40,000 for the project on a 3-to-1 matching. And so we started working on that last year, and we're at a point now where the grant has opened up again, and so we're going to try and take advantage of it. If you flip the page over, like I said, this is more kind of stuff that's coming on the horizon right now. So all the way in the weeds of, hey, look, we're recently looking at a floor machine to try and really get under little nooks and crannies during the cafeteria day. So Mr. Mance has the job of cleaning and turning over a cafeteria as each wave comes in, and then at the end of the day, he's got to clean it up. So he has to take up all the furniture and then put it all back down. And so it's just not really an efficient process. So we've explored some machines that allow you to imagine a vacuum cleaner that you can just push, it really scrubs and cleans the floor before we would take our big, large machines through and do that. Well, we think we have found something, and instead of just purchasing 3 machines, 1 for each building, we're going to purchase 1. We're going to see how it goes for a few months. If it proves to be successful, we'll purchase the other buildings as well. Fire panel alarm. This has been on the radar for quite a while now. Our alarm keeps going off, whether it's a communication signal or it's a system that's outdated. For whatever the reason, I have started exploring new panel replacements. Service call, just to kind of give you an idea of the company that installed it. It's proprietary. It's $1,000 for them to come out and just do a look at it. That doesn't even mean they're fixing it. That's just for them to come talk about or look at what's going on. So we can't keep, we've been kind of, it's been an envelope of, is it too many times coming out in a year or is it not? I mean, if they're coming out 10 times, $1,000, how many years are we gonna keep doing that before we could have replaced it? So I'm diving in a little bit deeper than I have in the past because it's becoming more frequent. By the way, these are in no particular. IPS Greenhouse, PTO has donated a greenhouse. And it's gonna be a learning space for our kids at the elementary school. It's pretty exciting, actually. They received a grant and they're able to purchase some things through that grant. As a school district, I wanted this on a steady foundation, and so we are providing the concrete base for it. Actually, Jim Foster, our maintenance guy, and I tomorrow morning are gonna be out cutting out some earth, if you will, to make room for the rock and so forth. Come in and lay the concrete, and then they'll put that up there. Really excited about that. I'm sure Mr. Ebert's gonna give us his DJ approach to being on safety is.
Just
Let-
like,
Yeah, I call them Bob Rogers. So land damage, you may or may not have heard of this, when we had that storm a couple weeks ago. It messed our land up pretty good. Knocked over a lot of trees fell on the pavilion, on our, I call it a viewing deck, you know, when you travel back further in there and there's this deck that overlooks, that's damaged, there's a tree on there. I have to meet with the contractor this week. He was supposed to call me today or tomorrow, assuming he's gonna be tomorrow. He's gonna meet up here to talk about the reconstruction of the pavilion, because there are beams that are broke, it's not a safe thing. This is our prime time for kids coming over and having classes there. So there's a little bit of urgency to try and get this done. We did get our quote for the tree clearing and everything. It's all gonna be handled by insurance, the $5,000 deductible. Jen and I have talked about this. I completed 7 years here, and I've never filed a claim before. And inside of 3 weeks, right, Jen? Or, no, just over 3 weeks, I filed 2 claims. And, you know, that's why you have insurance. And so we will look to get those repaired as much as possible. As they're finished, I'll give you guys updates. If you hear that chirp out there, that's what happened.
are we having an open house, in October for Atlanta? We usually do, like the second or third week of October. I wonder if it'll be ready.
Boy, but it needs to be ready. They're talking about starting tree clearing this week or next week. And then, knowing what I know about the pavilion and so on, I know tree fix, it's just a matter of the guy having time. It's not gonna be a long fix. It's just getting someone to do it. So, rooftop units, you guys all know what an RTU was? You might or maybe didn't. It's those things that sit on top of buildings and the control, it's the HVAC. It's the air circulator. We had 2 damaged from, we believe, last May. There was a storm, and I don't mean May of 24, I mean May of 23. There were storms that passed through, a lot of damage. And these units wouldn't have been looked at until then, at that point. So we discovered them in May and put in, you know, explored a little bit more. The total cost to replace them, $19,100. We found $5,000 to replace 2 units. They went out the middle school building last Tuesday, and they were installed that day. So, digital sign, you know, it's not been working. There's a part, it's like $2,679. I rounded up to $27 or $2,970. We're hoping this works. You know, we've had it looked at. We think it's this part. We hope that's going to fix it. We don't know, but that's where we're at right now. The part is on order. When it gets there, we're going to pop it in there and see if that fixes it.
How old is, that's not even like 5 years old. Is it?
No, I remember that day. It's 6 years. I remember seeing it before.
I do too. I mean, I remember hearing.
So yeah, and again, it's a basic part. That's where we're at with that. Middle school gymnasium scoreboard, our athletic boosters have graciously agreed to, and you'll see this coming up on the board agenda, of accepting a donation from our boosters. They are willing to purchase a scoreboard and pay for shipping for the middle school. The scoreboard's really old. We tried to look to see if we could just replace the controller, because the controller's trouble communicating. And, the board's so old, the new one won't respond to it. And so it'd be almost $4,000 just to get a controller. But if that board ever breaks and aren't any parts, like we can't get parts to fix it. So we had a discussion and instead of having 2 scoreboards in the middle school, because that is an old high school gym, as we all know, we're just gonna put one, which is typically what you have in the middle school, scoreboard. And, so that's gonna be it'll be a cost to the district, approximately $3,200. And the booster's gonna pay for the rest. The $3,200 covers, removing and installing, so removing the 2 and installing. They're hauling everything away as well, and so that's where we're at. Yeah, I think that's it.
Question about the bleachers. I was looking at them yesterday.
Mhm.
Are we gonna have any kind of, screening or any kind of, barrier as you go up this bleachers? They have a railing on the outside.
Mhm.
Is there gonna be a screen or something?
There's fence there right now. Oh,
No, I mean, like, as you're going up the steps on the top couple of levels, it would be so easy for a kid to slip through there, and fall off the bleacher.
there is,
You know, as you're walking up the steps from outside,
these are the railings that are going up there, along the side of the bleachers,
the
right?
outside of the bleachers.
Yeah, they now have fencing.
Okay, that's what I was
Yeah.
looking for.
And that actually
Nothing
wasn't there.
yesterday.
That wasn't there 2 hours ago. The
Okay.
installers, what's
Okay.
going on? Just drove by and
Yeah,
finishing up on one side.
And what about back up against the press box? Is that gonna be a fence or is that gonna be something?
And the back.
Seats, the back of the seats against the.
It'll be a fence.
It'll be fence.
It's a fence.
That's what the other side is. I didn't know that. It used to be, there's some kind of a wall or.
Or paneling or some
panel
sort.
there, yeah.
Yeah, we did have those options. And then at that point, when we were making the decision, we
Because
decided.
it really helps the wind.
And the
I know,
snow.
bad day.
It does.
It helps the wind, but you sit against there when it's not.
And maybe we'll just get this. So, and, you know, I know that was kind of asked too about what we doing in the one when I got here. Wind screen at the back, the spots by the food and clinic. Or else it's gashes through. We're not gonna not do something. What I didn't want to do was start this project and try to mess in all these other little details. Like, we're going to have to go through the process of advertising, and it cannot just be, you know.
Yeah.
So we'll have some sort of, approach, uniform approach, tiered levels of support. And then we're gonna take that money to throw it back into the state. We have track that's gonna have to be replaced here soon. Even rentals right now, I'm negotiating in a very different way than we have. Kind of, I would say, provide interest for our district.
And Tom, would we move to like the visitor stands before we would move the game on Friday night? Like if we are not done with all the little details, all the little nooks and crannies.
I'm looking at you because I don't even put that.
I know, I want a contingency plan, like,
Yeah, I gotta be honest with you, if I don't feel comfortable on Wednesday, we're gonna start. some stuff again.
so because we're not.
It's literally that close. The press box is done and installed. It will be fully operational I know it'll be right. You'll be able to talk on the microphone the next day. The pieces that have to be done right now, like they can be done. So I'm not, honestly, the fence was really irritated by me.
Yeah.
And so when I
that's
saw that
very
rolled out,
bad. Oh
Same
my God,
thing.
it's all those things are right there, just a little bit wet, somebody gets.
there's still a ramp going on. That's the part,
That's the
in my head, I'm
yeah.
like,
But we can still have a game, we can still, yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
In fact, the landscapers come tomorrow to take care of the, did I put that? There's some old turf that I just now found out where it came from. It might be rotted, it might be okay, we're gonna find out. We have the landscapers coming tomorrow and they are laying down topsoil and then grading that area. We're gonna roll that old used turf out. And if it's good, we're gonna pin it down and that is gonna be the place for our game to kind of go. Next year, it won't be that. Next year, there will be no turf. We are pulling that up no matter what. Be nice, crisp grass that we will do. Because we'll fix the drainage issues that I talked to you guys about before. We're gonna try and create some flow down there so that it's a nice Yeah, it's good solid ground to stand on.
It's supposed to be like over 90 on Friday. Is there a chance we cancel? If you cancel school, you're gonna cancel the game, right?
No, that is not a guarantee at all.
You would have boys playing that heavy equipment.
Yes, that was one of those. Absolutely
I
cool.
know.
The sun goes down, there's no
That
guarantee.
happens.
No, no. We're not.
You don't cancel.
No, there's no canceling in football. No, when it gets, they'll swing the wet thing in the air to see if it's too hot. It'll be-
I told Kelly this, I appreciate what you said there, Tom, about we just gotta get this done and then come up for air in November. Just, I like how we're just not gonna just throw things out there. Just, we have a new athletic director. He's already told me a lot of his ideas,
Mhm.
like what and I'm sure the coaches are gonna wanna get their inputs in about I'm looking under those bleachers. I'm like, there's a lot of space under there. More than I thought.
It's actually gonna be lit by Friday night. So we will have it lit underneath there because we are not keeping the kids on it. And next year we will have it paved some way, whether it's asphalt, whatever, there will be storage under there. We've got to do better about the process. To me, the advertising process. So just kind of say this. I am not the person who is going to do this. It has to be a group of people. Goodness, Brett has
Any other questions? Jen, I think you're good for
I
that.
am, I have more to come.
Okay. So, speaking of heat day, so yeah, my first official, act as superintendent was extremely stressful. Extremely stressful. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna tick somebody off, right? But, so yeah, I did visit the buildings today and it is extremely, hot in some of those classrooms without any air conditioning. And recognizing that with tomorrow, you know, the heat index above 100, it's gonna cause a problem tomorrow, for sure. I know we talked about, Tom and I, in regards to the classrooms, because part of the concern is if you're not open tomorrow, windows are closed. What is it overnight? Then, you know, when they come in on Wednesday, so we did talk about potentially leaving those windows open overnight, just letting the police know and then maybe make some extra runs around the building.
That'll be for tomorrow night.
Yep.
Yeah, and tomorrow it's gonna be, I mean, listen, it's like a little pizza oven in there, so. We have that hot day tomorrow, what we're hoping for is quick cool down. If it doesn't really cool down, it's gonna be probably worse in the morning, Wednesday.
Try to keep it flowing, and I talked to TJ about opening the windows tomorrow, as well, keeping those fans on. So they are gonna go ahead and do that.
Yeah, all systems in all three buildings, exhaust fans will be going there. We have schedules on all of them. Certain things shut down, like for example, this one will crank it full go. We had some issues here today where it was flickering, and it's because the grid's being tasked with a lot of requests. It tripped our brand new chiller, and I mean, it was hot, and it was even more hot. So, we had our local person who helps us out with HVAC, he came up, he took a look at it and fixed it, so I honestly thought we could be talking about high school, not being section. Not the case, we're in good shape.
So it's just primary and middle.
Correct.
for tomorrow.
Yes, high school's reporting.
They're the babysitters, they'll do primary. It's probably you,
I'm also trying to, you won't see it on all of the news channels, because poor Diane and I were searching through files, trying to figure out what our passwords and codes are, in order to call us. They don't just let anybody call a day off. So I was able to do like 2 of them, like I think channel 3 and channel 8, or 5, sorry, 3 and 5. So the other ones I had to email and say, can I please have a code? And so I'm waiting on them, but so at least we sent it out and we had traffic contact. Yeah, I did I did a Blackboard, which was the voice one, and then we sent the constant contact to everybody, and then Charlene is also. Did you not get?
I got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did. Oh, yes, perfect. Okay, so then also just kind of wanted to update, actually, Tony had called me about this, so then I was looking, it's the preliminary report card data that's gonna come out. It's usually, I think it's embargoed until a certain date, and then they release it out, it's the district report card, that the state, pushes out. And, so remember that it changed, to a star system, which some of my other colleagues would like to call it the Yelp system. So if you're 5 stars, you're good, right? You're great. So last year, just to kind of give you guys, a review, Independence's local, school district overall was a 4 out of 5 stars. And so how that broke down to get an overall star is your achievement was a 5, your progress was a 2, your gap closing was a 5, and your graduation rate was a 5, and your early literacy was a 3. And so that overall kind of gave you the 4 stars for actually, I should not say last year, the year before that. So this past school year, 23-24, is what this report card is going to reflect. That's coming out shortly. And overall, the district is a 5-star. So went up 1 star in the rating. Your achievement was a 5 again, your gap was a 5, your graduation rate was a 5, and your early literacy went from 3 stars to 5 stars. So your early literacy, is now 5 stars. The progress component, which is interesting, that was where you had 2 stars. That particular component, 2 years ago, that was the last year for that component. So they no longer measure that component. So that's removed from the equation. So I'll give, once it's, kind of fully released, I'll give more of an overview for you guys, just to kind of highlight, once I dig down into that data a little bit more. Why were some of those changes? What are we seeing? And then what are some continued areas of focus as we think about curriculum, instruction, and assessment for this year? But good news overall.
You accomplished a lot in the transition.
Right.
Hey, when was the testing? That wasn't it the May testing? It's-
Oh, yeah. Yes, March through May,
Is
yeah.
it a coincidence? I don't know.
I love it.
It's given what'll happen when you're here all the time. 6 stars, here we go.
Yeah.
6.
So, also just, want to give a little bit of a shout out to Francine, the transportation, supervisor. A lot of moving parts, in the last month with trying to find drivers and making sure we had enough drivers and then even that first week of school, there's so many nuances to transportation within our district. For example, it's only freshmen on the first day, so you're not picking up the sophomores, juniors, and seniors. And then TJ's wonderful schedule will be like A through L and not picking up the other students. So it's a little bit, but that's very unnerving for the bus drivers because they're trying to kind of read they're going like, oh, I don't stop here. This person's not getting on today. So just working through that, and even with having to work through all those kind of issues, really, I was at all the buildings on the first few days and buses were really on time. So even though it was a little bit maybe of a longer ride, it wasn't longer than we expected. And so that's really, that's been really great for her department. And I know that this Friday will be the first day with everybody in session. So that'll kind of be the true testament, but really just, she's really handled that very well. So, and thank you to her bus drivers and everybody just stepping up. I mean, it's a lot. People think it's just bus driving, to and from school. Well, it's all our athletics. It's all our events. It's asking these bus drivers to work on the weekends. And we don't have a huge staff of bus drivers. So it's like, who wants to drive to Pontiac on, a Saturday and give up like 4 to 6 hours, right? And they worked all week and they want to enjoy their weekends as well. So we've asked a lot of them and they've stepped up. And so just really appreciate them and their department, Francine and her department. So I just wanted to give a little bit of a shout out to her.
With regards, I don't mean to interrupt, but with regards like to, kindergarten half was today, now half was supposed to be tomorrow. Now we're gonna not have school. So then
They'll still get there. So they each had 2 they each
they're
had,
supposed to each have a.
they each have 2
individual
days. So they each have 2 days. So A through whoever was today, and then it's gonna be A through whoever on Wednesday.
Oh,
Do you know what I'm saying?
everyone was going.
Right. One goes on Friday.
Oh,
So everybody gets like 2 days of being in the
Oh.
class. So they'll still get 1 day of transition.
Yeah, they're not going to.
Yeah, they just wanted 2 days. And to that point, Lynn, thanks for mentioning that. So, we did post for, a long-term sub position. We're going to post tomorrow morning for kindergarten. Yes, we, in the last, we went from where I felt comfortable at 21. Like people are either moving here by the droves or somehow living with relatives or something, but we are now at 23 in each of those classrooms. And that doesn't anticipate for, even if you get 1 or 2, we registered another kindergartner today. So in my mind, recognizing that early literacy component, those kindergarten students, I mean, that is literally when you're teaching them the phonics and the instruction. It's not as easy as in 3rd grade when you can have kids sit quietly and entertain themselves or read a book over in the corner. There's a lot of orchestrating that kindergarten teachers do in that classroom to make sure that our students are ready with those early literacy and numeracy skills. So it will be a 1-year long-term sub. It's not a permanent position. It will end at the end of the year, and then we will, determine whether or not we need to keep it at that level, whether or not, we can move that, do we need 4 first grades? So we'll look at all of that, but we're not gonna hire a full-time, staff member right now. It'll be a long-term sub position. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just wondering, is there a minimum number of students that you can have in a classroom when it comes to like kindergarten? It could be,
Just depends.
it just depends.
One, sometimes it depends on a negotiated agreement. There are some contracts that negotiate what is the class size going to be and what happens if it's over that, or if there's some sort of like a payment that might happen. But if it doesn't speak to it in your contract, you're really kind of, you don't have a lot of stipulations as to how many students you could have. But, and I told Tom this and Jen this, that, that kind of kindergarten to 2nd grade, that's like that sweet spot. And so for me, recognizing reading groups and having to orchestrate all of that and working with those students, sometimes one-on-one, there's a little more need for smaller class sizes.
The lateness is what's on. And I don't know if I've just seen more of it now because I'm still kind of connected with it. I've never seen this many people registering. We have someone with die. It seems like she had appointments every day for the past week and a half. I've never seen it. You're talking about busing. Here's another challenge. We had set numbers, and we had people who, we had a few every year that forgot to sign up. We had that, and we had new people, and so now we really are squeezing on those buses. I was just asking Kelly too, like, I don't have it in front of me. I'm really curious about our enrollment is. This narrative out there is that our enrollment's down. I don't think it is. I should think it's up. But again, I'm totally guessing. So.
Have you thought about the process of how you're going to go about putting students in that 4th room? Are you going to be approaching parents in other classrooms and asking them if they would like to shift, or how, have you thought about that?
Yes, so TJ is going to be sending a letter to the parents, so he's already crafted it, and so then I'm kind of just going through and listening. It'll go out tomorrow to let parents know. The positive is, while it's not ideal, because it wasn't done before school starts, the positive is they haven't already, like, we're not in the middle of September or, October, and then you get the crying and I'm so attached to my teacher, and now I don't have her. So the positive is we're really trying to make that so that Friday when they come, that they already are going into that classroom. So I know TJ and his counselor and the kindergarten teachers are gonna meet tomorrow to start thinking about that 4th classroom and what that would look like. Because it's a long-term sub position, I think it'll be a situation where we can do that quickly and make sure that person's in place. So basically, by potentially Thursday, Friday, those kids are going to that particular teacher. So, and there will be communication with the families and.
This Thursday? Oh,
Wow.
so it would be on the agenda for the Tuesday meeting
Yes,
after Labor Day?
Yeah. yes.
Well, I just want to say, as a parent of a kindergarten, I really appreciate you guys thinking about this. And,
Yeah.
Especially with a parent with kids who has needs, it's really important to me that they get the best education that they can and the attention of a teacher. So thank you for considering it, and I know that there's other. Yeah.
Yes.
May I say something?
Sure.
Am I fine? I also have a kindergartner this year, and yes, I echo Katie's sentiments. I think there was concern about the classroom sizes, so I think that, and like you said, it's not ideal that it's not happening before the school year, but I think people are gonna be very happy to go down to a room of 16 or 17
I'm sure the
versus.
teachers.
Yeah, we'll have about 17, 18.
Yeah, the teachers, too. Right.
12, right? We're still gonna be at that 18, 17,
Yeah.
18, so it'll be good.
And then you get the reality. Tony and I work with a guy, he's a teacher, he's a health and phys ed teacher. He's a kindergarten teacher. He's got 40 kids in his class, 40, and he's all by himself.
Where's he at?
He's in Cleveland.
Um,
And he's like, I have a choice of a classroom or outside. He's like, I'm not taking 40 kids outside. They don't know me. They, you know what I mean? So like,
yeah.
you know, you see what's out there and we're so grateful to be where we are.
Yeah.
And so,
It's very good news.
Yes. So that was that update, and then obviously Labor Day next week, it's next week, gosh, yeah. It is.
Early.
Yeah. Yes, so we have Labor Day on Monday, and then we have our meeting on Tuesday. So, again, just a reminder that we'll have our work sessions, on the first Tuesday of the month, and our regular meetings on the third Tuesday of the month, starting at 6 o'clock. Anything else? I think that's all I've got. Any other questions? Okay.
Next agenda item, new business, resolution 2024-122, Ohio Online Learning Program, memorandum of understanding.
So
Sam?
Mrs. Hill? Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Avila?
Yes. Resolution number 2024-123, advertise and receive bids for the windows at the middle school. You spoke to this.
Yeah.
Sam?
Who was that? I'm sorry, you guys are ready?
Lynn, he's Lynn.
What happens when you talk? Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill? Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Avila?
Yes. Resolution number 2024-124, memorandum of understanding regarding rehire stipulations for bus drivers.
And do you mind, Jen, just explaining this, that they can kind of give us a little bit of a explanation of?
Yeah, this was part of the collective bargaining agreement previously, and it just needs to extend with our rollover. And I think Tom could speak to it much more in depth than Kelly.
So the purpose of this was, so you had adopted this as memo last year. When we rolled the contract over, I did not want this to roll into it. And so we knew that we were doing the 1-year rollover and that this was going to follow. This was something that we have agreed upon. When somebody retires, they have the freedom of need for bus drivers. And they can go somewhere. So we had in our contract that their pay would be lower level. So we made it more of an incentive to say that we can go up to step 10 on ours, on our bus scale. So really, it's just to kind of keep people who retire. And it's worked because someone retired, guess what? She's driving for us every morning now. So that's really what that was. And again, didn't want that just rolling into, because when we go into negotiations, it's a point of conversation.
Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill?
Yeah.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Avila?
Yes. Resolution 2024-125, Cuyahoga Valley Career Center Board of Education Representative.
So
Sam?
Mrs. Hill?
Yeah.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky? Mr. Avila?
Yes. Resolution 2024-126, acceptance of the then and now purchase purchases.
So moved.
Can we just have clarification on the cheer uniforms, just dive into that a little bit, please?
Absolutely. And really, the cheer uniform specifically, there was a purchase order on the system.
Yeah, because I filled it out.
It accidentally got closed and had paid on, and there was the transition in the fiscal year end. So unfortunately, it just was truly just lost in a shuffle. And our goal, my goal, and our department's goal is to not have these things happen. So obviously when $3,000 or more comes before the board to be approved. And the LLA therapy is summer therapy services, kind of a similar thing. The PO didn't get on in time. It was 2 days late, actually. And the mystery science is a renewal of 3 years for our subscription. So, but definitely the cheer uniforms is standing out because it is so large, but there was a PO on, unfortunately it was closed and not
Oh, I don't,
paid. No.
I just looked at what they ordered, paid attention and thought. Or
But I can get that information
I
and
can
send it
tell
to you
you
guys.
Just high school or the middle school?
it's just,
No. Recommend.
Yes, it'll be ours.
Only has middle school, I think, for the last 2 or 3 years. They haven't even been involved.
it's over 20 uniforms. 30 pounds, get you one. 24 lessons. If you want.
Wow.
So hopefully we see less and less.
Thank you, Jen.
Excellent. May I call roll?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill?
Yes.
Mrs. Sears? Mr. Beal?
Yes. Resolution 2024-127, REA Associates, cash audit engagement letter.
So moved.
Snap, can you just give us a quick?
Yep, this is truly just a verification of cash balances in a transition, and it's one of the best practices for transitioning in fiscal areas. So we're just, the last checks are being cashed for July, and Ray will come in and verify.
And this is essentially the exit audit since we have a transition.
Technically, yeah.
Call roll, please.
Mrs. Hill?
Yes.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mr. Beal?
Yes. Resolution 2024-128, science and reading stipends.
So moved.
Second.
Just a quick clarification, this is kind of exciting because it's a funded mandate for the first time from a financial perspective. It's part of the biennium budget and the due or the Department of Education workforce is pass through on that. And we actually get full reimbursement this time. We get the salary plus the retirement and tax. So that's super exciting to a treasurer. And curricularly. Super exciting.
She's very excited.
So we're just excited to get these off the ground and get people starting to get paid.
Thank you.
Mrs. Lasky? Mr. Hill? Or Mrs. Hill, sorry.
Okay, I didn't say, yes,
Mr. Bernstein? Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Beal?
Yes. Resolution 2024-129, change funds.
This is just the usual and customary to allow for the cash to have changed at like but they're starting that. And we issue a check to get it started and then they.
So moved.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill? Mr. Beal?
Yes. Resolution 2024-130, Sarah Frailer, primary school speech language therapist, FMLA leave for the 2024-25 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Is FMLA not 3 months? Huh?
We could have intermittent FMLA.
It's a maximum of 60 days. Mrs. Hill?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Avila?
Yes. Resolution 2024-131, Jennifer Bird de Jesus bus aide resignation.
Second.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Avila?
Resolution 2024-132, Bill Vince bus driver, 1-year limited contract to 24-25 school year.
I want to say something. Mr. Vince, dependability is probably the best word to describe this man. He's failed retirement many times, and he is really helping us out this year by taking some bus run, taking a contract. He really is just so valuable, just really an asset, just really dedicated to our district and to the people in our district. So a big shout out and stepping up. It's obvious that he was retiring a couple years ago.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill? Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Avila?
Yes. Resolution 2024-133, Kim Rakowski bus driver, 1-year limited contract for the 2024-25 school year.
So,
Also, another employee too that is retired last year and on her very first day of being able to actually work. Another awesome employee and fortunate. So when I talk about making that stipulation to entice them to come back, there she is.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill? Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mr. Avila?
Yes. Resolution 2024-134, Anthony Bland, cleaner, 1-year limited contract for the, this print here, the 2024-25 school year.
so moved.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill? Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mr. Avila?
Yes.
And number 14, was pulled at the very last minute. Yeah, they noticed from her that she would. So we're striking number 14.
Thank you. All right, next resolution, number 2024-136. Kelsey Flick, math teacher, high school, long-term substitute for the beginning of the year to conclude at the end of winter break.
Second. And why are we concluding it then with a break?
It's Anna, Anna.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
maternity.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mrs. Hill? Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mr. Avila?
Yes. Resolution 2024-137. I need some help with his last name, Sarah
Dugalowski.
Dugalinski, preschool teacher, primary school, long-term substitute for the 2024-25 school year.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Hill?
Yes.
Mrs. Sears?
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky?
Yes.
Mr. Avila?
Yes. Resolution 2024-138, Lynn Metzger, preparation compensation for the 2024-25 school year.
Second.
Can I ask a question? She was on last time for the renewal of the contract.
Yes.
Is this like a separate?
Yes, this is separate from her contract. It is, basically, she is kind of she's got all of her like Wilson certificates and everything. And so she does a lot of training with the classroom teachers. She's in there, she coaches them with the early literacy foundations. She's our in-house trainer. So she spends part of her, work week is in with classroom teachers and coaching them. So she gets a little bit more on her base salary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mrs. Hill? Mrs. Lasky,
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein, Mrs. Sears, Mr. Avila.
Yes. And resolution 2024-139, the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Sam?
Mr. Bernstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky,
Yes.
Mrs. Sears,
Yes.
Mr. Avila.
Yes. All right, next, we're gonna go into executive session. Consider appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee or court official. When we come out of executive session, we will not take new actions.
So moved.
Mrs. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Bernstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Lasky,
Yes.
Mrs. Sears,
Yes.
Mr. Avila.
Yes.
I'm in executive session.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Nicole, for.
Thank you. Yeah.